Hello and welcome to the Best Band I Ever Played With podcast. This is a show about people who play live music, not necessarily people who are famous from doing it, and not always people who do it as their main job. This is about people who play week in, week out in pubs, small venues, occasionally people's basements, wherever they can to whoever will listen, and normally for a small amount of money and some warm cans of Red Stripe, if they're lucky. Normally that would be me, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has stopped basically everything in the world, a lot of my gigs have been cancelled. So I thought it'd be nice to talk to some people who have been playing live music over the last couple of years in a variety of different places, and see what they've learnt along the way, what fun experiences they've had, and ultimately who the best band they ever played with was. My guest for this episode is probably best known for fronting the band Pillgrinns, a jangle pop, slightly post-punk four-piece assembled at university in Huddersfield and disbanding not too long after. He's actually not played a lot of live music since, but he was and remains a passionate advocate for underground music in his area. In our chat, we talk about how him and his housemates tried to single-handedly stimulate a Huddersfield underground music scene in their basement, why Hull is probably the centre of UK post-punk, and who the best band he ever played with was. More from me at the end, but for now, enjoy this conversation with Matthew Heuck. So, we are recording this on the 8th of September 2020. When was the last time you played a gig?
The last time I played a gig was 2017. Last ever gig with Pillgrinns, my old band. I think it was at Otto in Huddersfield, our last ever show. But wasn't the best show. I think I like to think of it as a Playing Humber Street Session 2017 is our last proper gig. That was great.
So the last one you played with Pillgrinns, did you all know that it was the last Pillgrinns show at that point?
Yeah, we did. It was a bit sad. It was a bit sad, but all good things have to come to an end, I believe. We're all heading in different directions.
It happens. It
happens.
I mean, just people's lives change, don't they? People move.
They do. It was sort of sad because we just sort of like really started to nail like our sound in the past the last 6 months of the band. They're sort of like on the edge of the sort of proto shoegaze, sort of Jesus and Mary Chain-ish sort of sound, and obviously a bigger Wedding Present influence in there as well. And we just sort of started to nail it. And then, like, we just all came to an end, which is a bit sad. But, you know, it happens. It happens. It's all part of the journey.
So, Pillgrinns was you. It was Foz, who you knew from back in Hull.
Aye.
It was Charlie, who you met in Huddersfield. And
yeah, that's correct.
Mars, who you also met in Huddersfield.
Yeah. Those two. Charlie's from Andover, down south, and Mars was from Thetford, near Norwich. So, you know, all four corners of the UK.
You guys recorded a couple of songs here and there. Some of them pretty good, and some of them in my regular rotation, I've got to say. Especially that last EP
wonderful. You
did. Great stuff on there. And I think the people who knew Pillgrinns think back on Pillgrinns fondly.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would never, yeah, we were fun. We were fun, I'd say that much. The last EP's got some good moments on it. The title track in particular, Smile, the 11-minute 3-chord magnum opus, was great fun to record. Did it live in the studio in Norwich. I can't remember. It's closed down now, the studio. Jason, the guy who recorded it, has a new studio now, but it was in an old nuclear bunker, recorded on analog tape live. It was amazing. It sounded amazing. I'm still so proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, that studio looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Jason's a genius as well. He's just this crazy guy with an old nuclear bunker just full of vintage recording equipment. Like, he heard me sing once, and it was like, right, we're using this 40s preamp and this 50s compressor. I was like, all right, mate. Sounds good to me. And, yeah, he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And the rest of the EP was recorded with Matt Peel at the Nave in Leeds, which is much more of a high-fidelity modern studio, but also just amazing stuff. He's got lots of nice vintage equipment, like old Roland Space Echoes and stuff like that, which were very fun to play with. Very fun.
So we mentioned the last gig that Pillgrinns played, Do you remember the first gig Pillgrinns played?
I mean, we started as like in our like performance class at uni originally. We originally had a Lithuanian guy called Valdes on piano instead of Charlie on guitar. I think the first song we ever played was a cover of Echo and the Bunnymen, The Killing Moon. So bit of a journey from there. But it was. I'm trying to think of the first actual gig we'll have played. It was probably at the parish in Huddersfield, most likely. Can't actually remember though. Yeah, I'm going to say it was in the parish in Huddersfield. Played there quite a lot. It's a good venue when you're a band in Huddersfield to get your first few gigs at, especially.
So I was just about to ask about like what the scene's like in Huddersfield, and then it popped into my head because my dad's from Huddersfield. So
oh yeah, I remember you saying yeah.
And I've still got family who live there. I remember my dad he's told me about 3 or 4 times that the Sex Pistols played some notable gig in Huddersfield once.
I mean, Huddersfield's got quite an interesting musical history because it's traditionally had a really big Afro-Caribbean population. It was actually like the UK capital of reggae at one point, apparently. So like your big reggae stars from Jamaica, like Desmond Dekker, etc. They'd come to the UK and they'd play London and Huddersfield, which is class. It's got a big history of like sound systems and stuff like that. There's I think it's Axis sound system. Yeah, I've been there a few nights. It's one of the old school ones that's still going. Guy runs that. Paul Axis. Yeah, he's a genius. He still got this massive, beautiful, like homemade, huge sound system he built himself, and like just does it all old. Like he DJs all old school. Like no mixing really. He just finishes a song, turns on the delay, just speaks into the mic for a little bit while he changes the record over, and back on. Few bars and then bang, sub bass switch, and like first time I went, it was in the old Victorian arcade there, and it just rattles the whole building. It's incredible. There's nothing quite like it. I used to be really into reggae at one point, so yeah, great fun. But yeah, I mean, our local Spoons was apparently quite a good venue as well at one point. Obviously before it was a Spoons. I think that might have been where the Sex Pistols played. I think Joy Division played there as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah,
it's a funny place, Huddersfield, because it's if you go there these days, it's just sort of, it seems like quite a normal northern town, really. But
I mean, yeah, it's just a uni town,
but it's slightly under the surface. There's quite interesting history, basically everywhere around.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit disappointed with it, really, but like. My initial thoughts going there was, it's right in between Leeds and Manchester. Wonderful, that should be great for music. And, I guess we tried to make it great for music.
Yeah, you did. You really did, because, of course, one of the first interactions I had with the world that Pillgrinns inhabited was when I came up with my band Raise to play a gig in your basement. And when I tell people that we played a gig in a basement in Huddersfield, I feel the need to emphasise the fact that when I say basement, I don't mean like downstairs in a pub or like a venue that was in a basement, but we played in a basement that was in someone's house, and that was your house.
Yes, it was. It was a big old basement. To be fair, it's pretty much the reason we got the house. It's classic second year of uni, 8 lads living together. Great idea at first, everyone hates it by the end. But yeah, we did some great things with the basement from the gig. So we used to put on techno raves in there, which was quite good fun. But yeah, like when you say when you say basement gig, you sort of get some pretty naff ideas. But the way we had everything set up with the sound system and stuff, it was great. I had some crazy nights in there. Crazy nights. Had Avalanche Party play a couple of times. They were doing really well now. And we just tried to sort of be a bit of a stepping stone for bands we knew as well. Yeah, it's great fun. Great fun.
Yeah, and you would do it semi-frequently, wouldn't you? So how many gigs did you put on in that basement in that year?
I think, can't remember how many exactly, but we I think we put one on at least every 2 months. At one point, probably one every month as well. Yeah, it was brilliant. brilliant.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I've played in plenty of places with actual hired sound guys and actual, like, someone commercially advertising this place as a music venue, and it didn't even sound like a third as good as it sounded in your student house basement in Huddersfield. So just talk me through the level of attention that you gave to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, full credit to Charlie Robinson, really. He's the one who made all the magic happen. His dad owns a guitar shop down in Andover, and he just had a lock-up, and he just had a load of old amps and speakers that I didn't really use anymore. And Charlie just said to him, could I borrow these on a long-term basis? His dad said, yeah, no problem. So when Charlie moved up, his dad brought a van and brought up... there's like a good 5 or 6 big speakers that we use for both sort of from the front speakers and as on-stage monitors. And every time we put a gig on, Charlie used to spend the entire day setting it up, so it was perfect. And it was wonderful. Like you said, like I've played actual venues with much worse sound than what Charlie was setting up for us in there. Yeah, so I think that was a big advantage we have over other people who put on basement shows. Like, we really did have the equipment for it.
It got really loud in that basement. And how did that go down with the neighbours? I remember walking up to the house and seeing a sign for, I think it was like the Huddersfield Deaf Institute around the corner.
Well, yeah, they weren't complaining.
I remember thinking that's pretty apt. Yeah, like how did you get away with it, really?
I mean, we did put in quite a lot of effort into soundproof in the basement. Went to charity shops, bought loads of old duvets and like wall hangings and like anything that you could use to soundproof. The old egg box trick works as well. But yeah, mattresses as well. If it's a door or something that doesn't get used at all, mattress and duvet over it. Although I generally, even if it's a door we are using, we'll just have like a duvet that would like roll up and like just use as a door, just because they do just absorb sound so well. And I don't think we ever did get any noise complaints about the actual gigs we put on. I mean, some of the raves that went on to like 6 a.m, we had a few complaints. Angry neighbours knock on the door 7 a.m. the next day, which wasn't really prepared for. But as far as gigs go, yeah, we did really well sound wise. Yeah.
You talk about post-punk a bit there, and you do a bit of stuff with Bleakhaus, who generally promote post-punk, punky shows here and there in the Leeds area.
That is correct.
And your origins lie in Hull / the surrounding area of Hull, and there's a fair bit of post-punk happening out of Hull. What is it about Hull?
What is it about Hull? It's a great question. I mean, personally, I just sort of discovered... I got into post-punk myself just by being depressed and 17 and discovering Joy Division and being like, whoa, this is real music. Which genuinely, as cringy as it sounds, was quite life-changing for me. And then when I went to college in Hull, and here's a term you heard about, and I particularly with my band, the Magdalens, wanted to be a post-punk band. And that's sort of grown. I think it's a music that suits Hull. Hull's quite a forgotten city up in the north of England, but it's got a great culture. It's got a great musical culture. The music scene sort of, I guess, like I say, because Hull's quite forgotten. It's quite a hard music scene to get out of, but to break out of. But the scene itself's great. Everyone goes to gigs. It's very much like a big family. And yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Why Hull and post-punk? It just fits. I think it just fits.
Yeah, I think it definitely does fit. I don't know what it is about every time I've been up to Hull, but it has always been quite post-punk weather.
Well, yeah, the scenery definitely helps. The sort of post-industrial sort of scenery. Obviously, Hull sort of just economically been on a decline since the fishing industry sort of ended in the 60s. Yeah, it's just a very post-punk place, I think.
Yeah, I mean there is something about it being slightly cut off as well, isn't it? Just because like when you approach it by train, I remember taking the train once to Hull and it was snowing, and I just remember looking outside and just thinking like, there's nothing, there's nothing here, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Hull emerges. I mean, it's a special place.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's the only city in East Yorkshire, which is a pretty boring part of the world. Not gonna lie, from there myself. Great place to be from. Not a great place to stay, I'd say. East Yorkshire, that is. Hull's got a bit more going for it than the surrounding area. But yeah, it is a cut-off city, and I think that does work for it in some aspects, and obviously doesn't in others. It's like you said, getting the train, like. Hull's not a great place to be, even to get to other places by train. Like Malton, where my parents live now, it's just a shitty little market town, just like sort of in between, more near the York end between Hull and York, just on the north side of the North Yorkshire border, is better connected by train than Hull is, just because it's next to York. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And there's a lot of things that people don't realise about Hull. But I think one of the things that people should realise is that there's quite a good little scene that's developed. Lots of good local bands, places where local bands can play, and about once a year, under normal non-pandemic circumstances, my Facebook will pop up with lots of updates from something called the Humber Street Sesh. Can you tell me more about the Humber Street Sesh and then the sesh behind it?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with the sesh, actually. The sesh is a regular music night. In recent years, it's been held at the Polar Bear, which is a great little venue. And yeah, it runs every Tuesday night. It's sort of like, it's very much a hub of the whole music scene. Like, everyone goes to the sesh. And it's great if you're a starting band, you've played a couple of gigs. One of the guys from the sesh stage, you say, "Oh, do you want to come play for sesh?" You'll get like a starter slot there. I think they have 3 or 4 slots a night, and it's a great whole sort of music community thing. They bring in some bands from further afield to headline, etc. Especially like around Yorkshire. But yeah, it's a good place to get on, especially as a place to get recognised as a band. You want to be playing sesh. And then the sesh did very well, and the I can't remember what year they actually started Humber Street Sesh, but Humber Street Sesh is now it's a multiple. I think it's over 2 days now. It always used to be 1 day. It's a musical festival they hold in I think it's in August. Yeah, I think it is in August, around the Humber Street area of Hull. And that's really developed into quite a big thing now. Started off again with very much local artists, but now they do bring in some bigger artists from further afield, which is great. And yeah, it's a great day, very successful, and also it's a great event to play. And it's quite an easy event to get on if you're doing the right thing as a band around the whole area and the Yorkshire area in general. Yeah, like just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, every time I have a look at the photos and whatever that pop up from the street session, other sesh-related events, I mean, it seems great. It seems like there's, it's something that's properly set up, something where people show up to watch.
I mean, yeah, I think one thing it's got over other like local music festivals is a lot of people do go. Like a lot of people who might not necessarily go to gigs and stuff normally do go, and that's a real strength for it. It's a real big part of Hull culture now. Humber Street Sesh. It's great.
I mean, it just seems like such a great opportunity if you're a small band, just to get out and play in front of people who aren't like your friends, you know, because especially if when you're just starting out and it's just texting all your friends on the day of and like, oh, we're playing a gig, it's like £3 on the door. The Sessions website's got quite a nice artist page where it lists all of the people who've played at the sesh, and it varies a lot. There's obviously, you see Pillgrinns and your previous band, the Magdalens, in there. There's also a couple of names that pop out that people who've gone on to actually do some fairly good stuff. People like Willie J. Healy, who's just put out quite a good album. But yeah, all of your Hotel Luxes, your
they're doing great.
Phobophobes, So would you say that that's like a really important experience for a band starting out to have? And they just get on a lineup with people coming to see them.
I think a lot of bands get on. They play sesh. They get given a session, and that's sort of their introduction to Hull as well. For bands from further afield, and that's when they sort of realise Hull's actually got a great place to be playing music. Like it's got a great music community, which is really nice. And it's just like it's recognition as well. You're saying at Humber Street Sesh, like you get people who wouldn't normally go to gigs. I think a career highlight for me was Burnsy, the commentator from BBC Radio Humberside, who I've been listening to every Saturday afternoon since I was about 4. Gave Pillgrinns a tweet because when he watched our set, and I saw him at a Hull City game a couple of weeks after and thanked him, which was nice. Yeah, it's just wonderful. It just lets people connect with local music that might not necessarily do so, which I think is a very important thing to do. As you know, in other cities, like just low-level gigs just don't get any attention. I remember when I moved to Manchester, I was very disappointed with how few people really attend small gigs. Like pitiful amount of people attend small gigs when I was living in Manchester. I mean, I've heard that's changed, but it's a very different culture to Hull. That's what I'll say.
Heucky, who was the best band that you have ever played with?
The best band that I've ever played with were a band from Hull, who are now defunct, called Oedipus the King. They're a post-rock band, and I think they never really made it. I think they had less than 400 likes on Facebook, which was it's just a crime, mate. They were incredible, this band. Like, everyone else you meet who's played with them will tell you the same thing as well. I've made it a mission of mine to, if I ever make it as such, to try and spread the message of Oedipus the King, because wow, they were just something else. Absolutely incredible musicianship. The lyrics were something else, and just the live performances were just blew you away every single time. I'd highly recommend anyone to listen to them. They've got 2 EPs out. One in 2012. I'll just I always forget the 2012 EP's name because I'm a bad fan. Yeah, they've got EP called Colossus in 2012 and another EP in 2014 called Budapest, and just incredible. I will highly recommend anyone to listen to them. Especially if you I call them a post-rock band, but there's just elements of everything else in there as well. I think anyone who likes Radiohead will really, really like Oedipus the King. Especially the title track, but Budapest for me is my favourite. It's my favourite track, which I highly recommend. Yeah.
I had a listen to both those EPs this morning in preparation for this, and oh my god, what a great couple of EPs. Such high quality all across the board. If you like some of the early Modest Mouse stuff, you'd absolutely love this, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's fun, absolutely great. And listening to it, I just thought I'd love to see these guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's just sort of a classic Hull music scene story of like incredible band, but just never really broke out of Hull. Never really got out of there, and that's it. And it's really, really sad. I think a couple of them are in other bands now, but just Oedipus was something else. Something else.
Oh, mate. I mean, just the sound. It's just the singing. Yeah, like you say, the lyrics really good.
Yeah, the soundscapes. I'd say like it's produced like really well. I can't remember who produced it, but yeah, like the soundscapes and stuff. Just wow. Like some of the playing and stuff's a bit shreddy for what would be my taste usually, but like it just works. It just really, really fucking works. Like it's unreal.
So how did that translate live?
They used to do some. I mean, they were always very loud live, which is great. They used to do some pretty crazy stuff. Danny, the singer, used to shout through a megaphone for some of their songs. They used to do some audio visual stuff as well. They had like projections of like weird moving projections of arty sort of stuff on a screen behind them while they played. It was a proper experience seeing them live. Like it was always an honor to play with them. I played with them a few times with the Magdalens, and I think we played with them once at the start of Pillgrinns, and then they broke up, I think, which is really sad. But yeah, get back together, guys. If you hear this, please.
I mean, the audio visual stuff. I mean, to be doing that at that kind of level, I mean that shows a real creativity. I think really.
Yeah, definitely. It was just great showmanship. I think that was a big part of their performance.
Because you expect that kind of thing from your bigger acts, who are now trying to show a more artistic side to them. But I think to be doing it at under 400 Facebook likes, that just shows that you're probably screwed on as an artist.
Which is horrible. It's horrible that we rate them by that now. Yeah. So we rate acts by Facebook likes. But it says it all, really, doesn't it? Like they were incredible. I wish you could have seen them, Billy. Like I think you'd have loved them.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Matthew Heuck. If you want to check out his band Pillgrinns, I've put a couple of links in the description. If you want a recommendation of where to start, the track Smile is my personal favourite. It is excellent, and I hope everyone can listen to it. I also, again, cannot highly recommend Heuck's choice for the best band he ever played with highly enough. I'm also putting some links in the description for Oedipus the King. This podcast was recorded by me, Billy Pratt. I also did the music that you're hearing. The cover art is by Isaac Gray. If you liked it, please give it a like, leave a comment. Why not? Share it with a friend. Not really sure why these things help, but you hear them at the end of every podcast. So until next time, have a lovely day.